Hello to everybody. Welcome to this live webinar, Essential Oils from Traditional Wisdom to Scientific Evidence. In the next hour, we will try to show you a lot of things about this topic. My name is Pablo Fuentes, and I will be the presenter for this webinar today. I am the sales responsible for MIAVIT in America, Africa, Middle East, and South Europe, and I will be with you during the next hour. Please, just the general rules of the webinar. Write your questions in the chat place in the application, or also you can contact us about the Eurotier platform, sending us private message. We will be very happy to answer all your questions. Before we start with the topic today about essential oils, I will take just 2 minutes to introduce a little bit MIAVIT. Our senior owner established MIAVIT company more than 50 years ago, and we are still today a family-owned company. The name MIAVIT is coming from composition of minerals, amino acids, and vitamins. Today, the MIAVIT headquarters, we are still based in the north part of Germany, in Essen-Oldenburg, where the animal production density is one of the highest of Europe. Okay, we have more than 10 production plants with different solutions like premixes, feed additives, toxin binder, liquid production, etc. Our factories, we have expanded worldwide, okay, like a natural extension of our business, and we have factories in Spain, Vietnam, because we try to be closer to our customers and the markets, okay, and we are delivering today our products to more than 80 countries in the world. To keep the high quality of the product and to develop new solutions for you, our customers, we can offer you our team of experts in nutrition, logistics, laws, about feed, etc. So we are very quick adapting to all the changes and different perspectives of the market. Added to this, we are speaking about approximately in all the team about 20 languages, so will be very easy to communicate with our customers worldwide. In the last slide about the company, just to mention or to highlight that MIAVIT has an innovative company, spreads its activities not only in animal nutrition. We also have pet food, we have biogas, we have also products for food industry, and one part very interesting of our business is the private label. So we can produce products for third companies. Not waiting more time, I would like to introduce my colleague, Dr. Veterinarian Javier Prieto. Hello, Javier. Good morning.
Hello everybody. Pablo. Okay. Hello everybody who is watching today.
Javier is part of our poultry team in MIAVIT. He has a great experience as a veterinarian at the farm level. Okay, and today he will start with the topic of introducing us through the world of the essential oils. Please, Javier, go ahead. Your time.
Thank you very much, Pablo. Today we will talk about the history of the essential oils. Also, I will explain you what is the difference between a phytogenic and essential oils, since the same word but is not. Also, we will talk about the potential of the essential oils. We will see some mode of action because the essential oils are very versatile. They have a lot of mode of action, but we will see some of them and some scientific evidences. And then my colleagues, first my colleague Francesca will talk about essential oils and monogastrics, and then Corina will talk about essential oils in ruminants. So let's start with the history. And well, the timeline of phytogenics or essential oils is very long. So because we start in the 3000 before Christ with the Egyptian physicians also the Chinese medicine. So we were using for more than 5,000 years to improve health. And we started probably with human health, but we swap also to animal health. And just one thing about the traditional windows of wisdom, I have a question for you. So who do you think who was the first person to measure the radius of the herd quite accurately? This thing was done by Eratosthenes, who measured the radius of the herd in the 340 before Christ. That means that with the measures he has, he was able to do it. And that's why my question, that is the reflection. Not only Eratosthenes was able to measure this radius of the herd quite accurately, also it's important to know that the people who ancient make observations about this essential oils activity, probably they were right. And now we are proving that with some scientific evidence. And this is the main topic of this dissertation. Also, it's interesting that another point is that airplaners are not welcome here. This is also very important. The timeline for IGPs start, of course, antibiotic as growth promoters start in the early in the late 40s, and this is important. The antibiotic has not much life, and we are starting to use them. And now nowadays, from more or less 2005, the growing of the phytogenic market start to increase a lot, and this is really interesting, because nowadays we are thinking about banning most of the antibiotics as growth promoters, and we have some alternatives. And we not only have this alternative about antibiotics, but also with essential oils and phytogenics, we are trying to find alternatives for coccidia, for example. Also, I mentioned sometimes phytogenics, and I mentioned also essential oils. What is the difference? The main difference is the system of extraction, because the essential oils are extracted by distillation, okay? And we can have some tinctures, for example, that are extracted with solvents. But essential oils themselves, they are extracted by distillation. That's why they are oils. And I will explain you a little bit the distillation, because the distillation at the end of the day is putting fire into water. This water steam will go through the aromatic herbs. And these aromatic herbs with the water, we will have water steam with essential oil, and this needs to be condensed, okay? And on one hand, we will have water, and on the other hand, we will have the essential oil. And this is basically the basis of the distillation of the essential oils. Also, we have emulsification, but emulsification is the opposite way of distillation. So we have water, and we have the essential oil, and we need an emulsifier. The emulsifier is very important. The quality of the emulsifier is very important. And then we will have again essential oil in water, okay? So to do this, we need the use of the best emulsifier, we need high-end mixing technology, and we need easy application into drinking water to have a good price performance. Of course, we use the best emulsifier and the mixing technology. Just to give you an example, this is just a test emulsifier. We have a much bigger one on MIAVIT. We don't want to show it, just showing you the trial. We don't want to show our technology, of course. Then we want to talk about 10 golden rules when talking about essential oils. First of all, they are secondary metabolites from plants, and they are encoded by a specific genetic material. This is very important. They are volatile, as I already told, and lipophilic compounds, and they are extracted from herbal plants by steam distillation. We talk about that. Each essential oil can contain from 22 to 100 single components. This is very important because we talk about essential oils, but we must focus the debate on the single components. Also, these components have different activities, so they are very versatile. And usually there is a lead compound, but sometimes this is not happen. So like we can notice just only a lead compound, but we have a combination. I will explain you later also. And also these components might vary a lot. This is called the phytogenical polymorphism, and I will go through that a little bit more in the next slides. Why? Because these components can change regarding the origin of the plant, the weather conditions, the season of the year, the time of harvest, etc. And also this is very important. The essential oils together, they can have synergic effect, okay? And also they have synergic effect with other compounds, for example, antibiotics. For example, organic acids. And this is still under investigation, and we are making a lot of developments nowadays. So we know more and more about these essential oils, the structure, this essential oil, let's say, mode of action also. And this is very important. We need to choose by quality and rather than quantity, origin, or nature. And I will go through that later. The potential of essential oil. The potential of essential oil is very, very, very interesting. We have also the holistic approach. We will focus on nutrition. My colleague Francesca will explain you this in detail, okay? But we will focus in nutrition for this holistic approach. And we will have different nutritional strategies. First of all, we have the antibiotic. The ST stands for short-term efficiency, and LT stands for long-term efficiency, and P is the potential for development. So for the antibiotics, we know that we have a lot of short-term efficiency, but the long-term efficiency is not so good, even is negative, because we know they create resistance. For the coccidiostat, of course, the short-term efficiency is very good, but the long-term efficiency is still not so good. So every 3 months, with some coccidiostat, even we can stand 6 months, but usually 4 months we need to change. Okay. Then we have the formulation, the organic acids, the enzyme, probiotics and prebiotics, and phytogenics. Is where I want to go. With the phytogenics, the short-term efficiency is still not good. The long-term efficiency we know is better because we already can substitute some antibiotic usage, some coccidiostatic effect, synergic effect with organic acid, etc. But the potential for development is still huge because we are nowadays focused on the essential oils, but we are more and more focusing on their components. Also, other strategies, nutritional strategies are toxin binder and antioxidants. And at MIAVIT, this is important because at MIAVIT we have everything, but antibiotics. We don't use antibiotics at all. Then, as I told you before, the essential oils are mixtures of 50 and more different ingredients. And each oil has the active lead substance. And not every substance is active. So we need to focus on the substances that are active. So we need to focus in the quality, okay? So also we need to focus on if they are water soluble and if we can have a carrier with them. So the technical realization, especially with the liquid products. But also it's important for the powder products. I will give you an example. For example, the oregano. Oregano have all these compounds, 34. And we focus only on 2, thymol and carbachol, because are the important ones for us, the ones that we know the effect on the intestinal health. And we have 2 systems to measure quantity and quality. We can have the quantitative measurement, so we will distillate one product. For example, we have one liquid with 5% of essential oil. So we will distillate it and we will obtain the percentage of essential oils, the flavoring compounds, okay? But we have other system, okay? The gas chromatography plus mass spectrometry separation and detection. So I will explain you a little bit. The gas chromatography is you place the essential oil in here, okay? In here, in this wire, and this wire will be, and the gas will be separating the essential oils, okay? And then with the mass spectrometer, all these compounds that are divided, they will be fragmented and classified, okay? So we will have the total amount of the different compounds. And how can we explain this? We will have this graph, okay? With the gas chromatography, we have these peaks, okay? And with the mass spectrometry, mass spectrometry, we will have this. We will determine the compounds. And for example, for the peppermint oil or the mint oil, we have one marker, which is the mentofuran. So if we have less than 1% mentofuran, we will have mint oil. Okay, this is a low quality mint oil. But if we have more than 2% mentofuran, we will have the peppermint oil, which is the one that, let's say, gives the odor also, you know, because you know peppermint is more has more odor than mint, for example. So we need an analysis, quantitative and qualitative. This is very important. But also our specifications, for example, for the essential oils based on one main compound. For example, for the anise oil, we need that this anise oil has more than 90% anise oil. and the eucalyptus oil needs to have 70% of 1.8 CNO. This is very important. And then we have some other essential oils that are really complex. For example, they have many different compounds. For example, the oregano needs to have more than 60% carbachol, and the thyme needs to have more than 40% thymol. I hope everything is clear. And why is this the diversity, this phytogenical polymorphisms? Because at the end of the day, these compounds are essential for the survival of the plant. So they need to survive. For example, they produce this to protect the plant against heat stress, oxidative stress, or the toxicant to some substances, or also anti-inflammatory. Also, they need to protect them against virus, fungi, bacteria, herbivores, etc. And they are essential for the attraction of the plant to other insects to be able to reproduce. So what's happening here? That depending on the season of the year, depending on the circumstance of the plants, they will produce another compounds or other. But we will have the essential oil, the same essential oil name, let's say, and also we have different species of the same plant that they will produce different compounds. You know, I hope this is clear. Otherwise, you can ask some question about that. Then the mode of action and scientific evidence. Okay, we know this effect of the essential oils already in the bibliography. We know that they are antibacterial, they are antioxidative, anti-inflammatory, expectorant. They have some of them. They have the warming effect. They can be used as insect repellent. And this is very important. They have synergic effect with essential oil, organic acids, and antibiotics. They are also sometimes stimulants of appetite. They have cooling effect, and they have this is our like a lot quorum quenching effect, and I will explain you later. And they can act as immune modulators. Nowadays, we know also that they can be, let's say, antiviral also. They are proving, not in this case, it's not an essential oil, but this is a plant extract. They claim activity against COVID also, for example. The synergic effect, I have some bibliography here about synergic effect. You can look in Google. You can find a lot of bibliography about that. Also, we have synergic effect with essential oil and antibiotic, or essential oil and organic acid. This you can find wherever, you know. And also, there are a lot of research about their immune modulation effect. And the antioxidative effect also you can find. And the antioxidative plus antibacterial effect. Okay, this is very interesting. The cooling effect. In the epithelium, for example, the respiratory epithelium, we have some TRMP ion channels. And these are mediating the inflammation, and also they're mediating the cooling effect. So when the cool temperatures, they stimulate them. But also some essential oils, like for example, eucalyptus and menthol. So we are able to produce a refreshing effect by using this eucalyptus and menthol in the animals. For the growth promoting efficacy, we know we have some inconsistent results still with average daily gain and body weight gain, but we know that they reduce the food conversion rate, which is very interesting because they will increase the performance at the end of the day, and they will increase the yields and the earns, let's say. And this is very interesting because we have some possible mode of action on target site of the essential oils. They produce coagulation, they increase the permeability of the membrane, so allowing, for example, the organic acids to enter. Also, they alter the membrane fatty acids, producing leak of metabolites and ions. Also, they alter the hydrogen potassium motive force, and also they can have some effect on cytoplasmatic enzymes, and this is very interesting, the anti-quorum sensing activity. So with this anti-quorum sensing activity, we can decrease, for example, the biofilm formation or the proteolytic activity. How can we explain the anti-quorum sensing activity? Of course, the intestine health, for example, if we focus on intestinal health, in the intestine, it needs to be balanced. So we have a microbiota that is balanced. But what's happened when one pathogen appears? For example, E. coli or Salmonella. If they are in enough concentration, they will send signals between each other. And these signals will allow them, they will know that they are in enough strength to launch an attack to the organism. But what happened with the essential oils? The essential oil, let's say, they inhibit these signals. So this bacteria won't launch any attack, even if they are in enough concentration, which is good, you know. And also the dynamics and kinetics. we know that dynamics and kinetics, the absorption time is really short, like around 20 minutes, from 10 to 30 minutes, let's say. And the maximum plasma concentration is not really clear, but it seems like not more than 3-4 hours. And then the elimination half-life, as you can see here, is around 4 to 10 hours. Okay, so this is also really interesting in some, in some cases. It depends on also the product. For example, time mole, the absorption is, we know that is 20 minutes, and the elimination half-life is more than the, for example, 1/8 This is by oral administration, but we have other ways of absorption, and we are using this in some essential oils, for example, the respiratory or the dermal. So we know they have a lot of activity also by these ways of application. And now we will talk about essential oil and monogastrics. In this case, we have Francesca Kloska, which is certified veterinary specialist in poultry, and she has a lot of experience in management, health, and nutrition on poultry. Hello, Francesca. How are you?
Hello. Fine. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you perfectly. So let's start with your very interesting presentation and with your very interesting trials in poultry and swine. Okay, Francesca?
Yes, thank you. So hello also from my side. In the next 10 minutes, I will guide you through the trial results of MIAVIT concerning Miarom L, the liquid form, and Miarom P, the powder form. And first of all, I want to start with the holistic approach that Javier already mentioned. So first, we have 4 important pillars in animal production. We have the management and the facilities. We have the biosecurity and health. Javier, you can go on, yes. And we have the genetics we work with. And at last, we have the nutrition. So here, MIAVIT plays a role. And all these 4 important pillars play an important role in animal welfare, intestinal health, and improved yields of egg and meat production. So that is the holistic approach we have. And now I want to introduce the influence of Miarom L on performance of poultry under heat stress conditions. And as you all know, heat stress plays an important role worldwide. And this problem will increase more and more with the climate change. And what is the problem with the heat stress? So when there's heat stress, the animal lowers the feed intake and they pant a lot to get rid of the heat. And a lot of energy is wasted, which in the end results in low performance. And you can see this also on the next slide. Here we have in red the energy intake and in green the maintenance energy. And in between you see the energy that is available for performance. And with increasing temperatures, the 2 lines come together and they crosses at 33 degrees. And that means that now the animal has to use its body reserve to get rid of the heat and to have enough energy for maintenance. And this point we as animal caretakers have to prevent. And here MIAVIT comes into play with the product Miarom L that was tested against heat stress. And this is a special combination of several essential oils that are known to reduce stress, especially heat stress in poultry. And the trial was focused on avoidance of performance drops in poultry. The trial was performed in Germany in a trial institution farm. As a breed, we used male Ross 308, and the feed was in 3 feeding phases according to the AVIA-Gen recommendations, and it durated for 35 days. And the heat stress was induced with 35 degrees between day 13 up to day 18, and a second time between day 26 to day 31 in all groups. And the groups we had was a negative control that received nothing but the heat stress, and the negative control plus Miarom L that was applied during the heat stress phases with 250 milliliter per 1,000 liter of drinking water. And the results we got were really impressive. So in the end, we had a 330 grams higher end weight in the Miarom L group compared to the control group. And we see that this end weight is still below the standard of the AVIA-Gen, but this confirms that the heat stress was applied successfully. The feed conversion ratio was about 6 points better in the Miarom L group. And on the next slide, you see in summary that mortality was nearly the same. Body weight gain was about 330 grams higher. Average body weight gain and average feed consumption was about 10 grams higher. Feed conversion about 6 points better, and the European production efficiency factor was about 60 points better in the Miarom L group compared to the control group. So that are the results we have in poultry, but we also have results in swine. So how Miarom P supports the respiratory tract in swine. This trial was done in Taiwan with 3 groups, each with 6 piglets. And we had 3 groups. So the first is a negative control that received a normal diet and none of the infections. Then we have the Miarom P group that received the normal diet plus 500 grams Miarom P, and then 2 infections. So at the age of 7 weeks, a PCV2 infection, and again 7 days later, a secondary LPS challenge. And we have the positive control group that received the normal diet and both infections. And at the end of the trial, the animals were killed and the lungs were evaluated according to pathological changes. So you see a lung without changes and a lung with changes and this red necrotic foci. And we see that the Miarom P group is in between the negative control and the positive control group, so that we can conclude that Miarom P lowers the inflammation in the respiratory tract and is good for lung performance. You can see on the next slide. And our feeding recommendation starts with 200 grams in piglets and ends up with 500 grams in sows. And last but not least, I want to show you an observational study done in Vietnam concerning respiratory issues in broilers. This trial was conducted at a livestock training center of the Vietnamese government. We had 2 housings with 5,000 animals each. And in this trial, a local broiler breed was used. The age of the animals was 32 days. And the ongoing disease was a chronic respiratory disease with the involvement of E. coli. And the start of the trial was 2 days after the disease started, and it durated for 7 days. In this trial, we had 2 groups. So one was amoxicillin alone for 5 days, that is a control group. And then we had a second group with amoxicillin for 5 days plus Miarom L that was applied via drinking water in the afternoon, and that was also sprayed 3 times per week in the barn. And the parameters evaluated were the water intake, the barn odor, and the cure rate. So here we see the water intake after the application of Miarom L. So we had 4 scores from drinking continuously up to not drinking any water anymore. And we see that after application of Miarom L, the animals continue to drink quite normally. So Miarom L has no negative impact on the water intake. Then we checked for the barn odor before and after usage of Miarom L, and we see that in the control group and the trial group before usage, we have a score of about 2. That's a slight odor in the farm. And after spraying, it goes down to 0, and then it becomes 1 in the trial group and stays at 2 in the control group. So directly after usage, we have this pleasant cool fragrance of peppermint in the farm where Miarom L was sprayed. And for the cure rate, we can see that after 1 week of application, we have 100% cured in the trial group, while it is only 85% in the control group. So we can conclude that Miarom L plus amoxicillin has a 50% higher cure rate than amoxicillin alone. And as we have this promising results about the spraying of Miarom L, MIAVIT is now providing you with a backpack sprayer that is made in the Switzerland and has a 10-liter capacity, and it has a manual pumping system, so you do not have any issues with the electronics. And if you're interested in this, you can contact the MIAVIT salesperson. So Miarom at a glance, it supports in case of heat stress, it ameliorates the infections of the respiratory tract, it avoids performance drops, and it can be used via spray for a better air quality. So that was my part concerning Monogastrics. Now I hand over to my colleague Corinna, who is talking about essential oils in ruminants. So Corinna is an agricultural engineer from the University of Osnabrück, and she's a ruminant nutritionist and very experienced in the management, health, and nutrition of dairy cows and calves. So Corinna, hello.
Hello, good morning.
We can hear you very well. So I hand over to you. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Franziska, for the introduction, and welcome also from my side. And yes, you already heard about the effects of respiratory diseases on monogastrics. In the last 10 minutes of our webinar, I would like to focus on ruminants as well. because ruminants can be affected by respiratory diseases just like monogastric animals. And this has a huge impact on the economic situation on the farm, because the infections have a direct impact on the growth rates of the animals. And these reduced growth rates will lead to a lower carcass weight at slaughter and veal calves or beef cattle, or even to a reduced carcass quality. In very severe cases, it can even lead to mortality and total losses. But not only beef cattle are affected, also the performance of young female calves and heifers is impaired during an infection. As a result, they will not reach their target body weight during the intended period for insemination, which will in turn lead to a delay of the first calving age, with all linked negative effects like a reduced milk production in the first lactation. Now thinking about the causes of respiratory diseases in ruminants, the first thing that comes to our mind are the weather conditions during winter. However, it is not the cold temperature that affects the animals most, as the thermoneutral zone of cattle is between -5 and +15 degrees Celsius. Much rather, the reason for an outbreak are unstable weather conditions with high rainfall, high airflow rates, as well as temperature changes between day and night. But don't forget about the summer, when the air is contaminated with dust and bacteria sticking to the dust particles. The animals are inhaling the dust together with the warm air, and at the same time the breathing frequency is increased, and the animals are panting sometimes, which is putting additional pressure on the respiratory tract. However, the animals are, if the animals are well developed and healthy, also bad weather conditions do not affect them so much. But we have to take into account that the daily management routines may strain the animal's immune system further. So that in the end, the combined effects of the climatic conditions and the management can lead to a respiratory disease outbreak. And the management practices may include weaning, rehousing, feed changes, transportation, or any other treatment, or even, sometimes two treatments are happening at the same time. For example, the weaning and the rehousing or transportation in between. So we should also take into account that not only the weather and the climate plays a role, but also the stress factors on the farms. And these combined effects of poor weather conditions and rehousing at the same time were monitored during a farm survey in autumn 2020 on a commercial dairy farm in Germany. And the observation period started with the birth of the calves in last year's August, and the animals were weighed every 2 to 3 weeks on the farm. And as shown on the graph, the body weight gain of the calves increased from an average of 400 grams per day, which you can see on the first block. The dark black bar is showing the average of all of these 6 calves. And in the second period, it increased to almost 700 grams per day. This was from day 18 to day 34. And this average body weight of 700 grams is represented in the dark black bar on the right-hand side of the second block. And thereafter, the animals were shifted to group housing, and the weather got progressively worse coming into September, October. And this led to an outbreak of respiratory diseases in this group of calves. And interestingly, the 2 calves which were developed best, so the 2 calves in the dark red bar and the one in the light red bar with the highest body weight gain in the first 2 periods, they were affected most by this disease outbreak. As you can see, in the third block, with the body weight gain between day of life 34 to 48, the first calf in the dark red color almost gained no weight in this third weighing period, but it recovered in the end. But the second calf in the light red color, it dropped even more in body weight gain, even below 0. So in some phases, it even lost body weight. So I think this is a very interesting survey that shows that yeah, the weather conditions and the management practices really affect the growth rates of these calves. And these 2 calves which were affected most had to be treated with medication for respiratory diseases, but the other ones only had mild symptoms. But what does actually happen during such a disease outbreak? Think about the body weight gain during our practical experiment. It was 700 grams. In this graph, it is 800 grams, which is set as an average body weight gain. The infection most likely starts with a viral infection, and due to this infection, the animal starts to form mucus to excrete the viruses and the pathogens. And now the bacteria starts to use the proteins in the mucus as a substrate to grow on, which will lead to an even more severe development of the infection. And at this point, the weight gain of the animal starts to decrease sharply, which is represented in the red line. And if we notice the infection early and treat the animal at early stages of the infection, we can still avoid the worst part and maintain the regular weight. The time of the treatment is represented in this green round icon. And however, if we notice the infection too late and don't give any treatments, the animals stop growing or even lose body weight. So the weight gain will decrease even below 0. So what do we even need to give to the animal in order to avoid or prevent from these kind of infections? We think that essential oils can prevent from such a disease because the essential oils have expectorant effects, antibacterial and antiviral effects, as my colleague explained in the beginning. And with these effects, we can prevent or avoid these kind of infections. And in order to evaluate whether our mixture of natural and natural identical essential oils has these important characteristics and is effective to prevent from respiratory diseases in calves, we conducted a trial with the Humboldt University of Berlin. And in this trial, we mixed 1 gram Miarom P per calf per day into the liquid milk. And the trial design was parallel with 22 animals in control and trial group. And the animals were weighed, the animals weighed around 50 kilograms at the start, and they were 14 days of age on average. And the trial period lasted for the first 35 days of the calf starter phase. And during this period, we measured the development of the body weight gain and the use of medication. Here in this graph, you can see the results of the average daily gain divided into the first 2 weeks on the left, the last 2 weeks in the middle, and then the total average on the right-hand side. And the weight gain was very consistent, starting around 640 and 660 grams in the first 2 weeks, and then it increased to 900 and 920 grams per day. So on average, the weight gain of the control calves was 800 grams per day, and of the trial calves, 820 grams per day, which is a plus of 2.3%. The additional weight gain was already a good sign for us that the product is some kind of effective, but even more interesting for us to see the use of medication, because the target for us is to use antibiotic consumption in livestock, and we wanted to see if we can have any effects with our mixture of essential oils. And we were very glad to see that the antibiotic consumption was reduced quite sharply. So in the Miarom P group, we only had to treat 1 of 22 calves, which is 5% of the group. And in the control group, we had to treat 6 of 22 calves, which is 27% of the animals. So the reduction of medication for respiratory diseases was quite severe. Last but not least, I would like to explain how Miarom P should be applied. On the one hand, it can be mixed into feed or into milk replacer at the factory, because the ingredients of Miarom P are heat resistant, so no losses in quality should be expected during pelleting processes. And the recommended and tested dosage is 1 to 2 grams per calf per day, depending on the body weight. So in larger animals, we can go up to 3 grams per day, but in the small ones, 1 gram is sufficient. And yeah, the dosage in compound feed or pelleted calf starter feed is 500 to 1000 grams per ton. And in milk replacer, we recommend to use 1000 grams per ton. Miarom P can also be used on the farm, and there's one advantage of using it directly on the farm because it increases the aromatization of the air in the barn. So similar as you have seen in the poultry trial, we have this nice fragrance in the barn, and this leads also to an absorption of the essential oils through the lungs and not only through the digestive tract. And you can use twice daily 1 tablespoon per bucket of calf starter pellets, as you can see on the right hand side, and the powder sticking very nicely to the pellets, so it's not falling through the feed to the bottom of the trough. But you can even make it more simple and just pour it onto the feed as a top dressing, and due to the good palatability of Miarom, the animal will consume it voluntarily, and they will even, after a short adaptation period, they will prefer the feed with Miarom P over feed without Miarom P. So as a conclusion, I would like to summarize that respiratory diseases cause huge economic losses in ruminant farms worldwide. The leading cause of respiratory diseases are unstable and wet weather conditions, but we also have to take into account that management practices on the farms at the same time can also lead to an outbreak, which would not occur without this rehousing or weaning. And scientific trials prove that we can improve the growth rates of the animals, but even more interestingly, we can reduce antibiotic consumption. And this is also the feedback we receive from practical and commercial farms, that Miarom P has a good effect on respiratory health of small ruminants. The application is very simple and can be done in the factory as well as on the farm. And as a final question or take-home message, I would like to ask you which pathway is the right one for the future of your business. Do you want to stick to the conventional way of animal production with high antibiotic consumption, or can you consider to use essential oils or other natural substances as an alternative to prevent from the disease and reduce the medication?
Thank you, Corina, very much. Thank you also to Francis and to Javier. So resuming, good smell, good taste, and good health, okay? Again, thank you for this interesting 45 minutes, okay? Making a quick review about how are affecting essential oils to our sector, okay? And here I have some questions. We don't have too much time, but I will try to synthesize. Okay. Francis, you talk about Miarom via spray, but can you give us some examples how to do it? Because we can do it manually. I think we can do it also with automatic systems using cool padding. Please, can you tell us your experience? No, wait.
Yeah.
Now. You mute again, Francisca. Now.
Let's see.
No.
Now you are in.
Now you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. So you can either use it via backpack sprayer, how we have seen it in the trial of Vietnam, but I think that is in other farms like in Germany or Europe or elsewhere, you have often this cooling systems. You can also use it via the spray cooling systems, and you can directly dose it into the system. But you have to be a little bit careful because of biofilm formation. So I recommend, after using Miarom L via the spray cooling system, to use some disinfectants to get rid of the biofilm. But I know farmers in Germany that are using Miarom L via the spray cooling system, and it works quite well. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Javier, Here we have a very interesting question that I think a lot of people is thinking, and it's related to essential oils, antibiotics, dosages. Are they effective, not effective, costs? I think this is very general, and we can spend another morning only speaking about this. But can you give us just your main ideas about this topic?
Yes, Paulo, I think it's a very interesting question because we talk antibiotic here as if we're the evil of the film, and it's not like this. I'm not against antibiotic. I think antibiotic is necessary because at the end of the day, if we have really health problems, and sometimes nothing is effective, so we need to use antibiotic. But I'm against the use of antibiotic as preventive. To use as preventive is much more effective essential oil and is much more cost efficient. And this is really important to highlight. By using essential oil, you can prevent the, for example, respiratory disease appearing, or you can fight heat stress. And these are things that are not able to do it by antibiotics. And besides, the antibiotics has, let's say, has a resistance effect. So if we are using all the time the same antibiotic in the farm, we will create resistance. By using essential oils, it's almost impossible to create this resistance because we use a combination of essential oils. And at the end of the day, is what we want, to enhance the performance and to have unstable performance. And this is made by the use of essential oils, and with antibiotic is very difficult to get. And also, at the end of the day, you think about the price of these essential oils. For example, Miarom, the antibiotic usually you dosage it at 1 liter or 1 kilogram per ton or liter of water. With the Miarom L or the Miarom P, you use less dosage usually. So at the end of the day, you see the cost is more cost effective. And I think, I hope this is clear for everyone. I don't know if Francisca.
What about possible combinations? Are they used?
Yes, Francisca explained us in the trial that we can combine, for example, amoxicillin with essential oils. We can combine essential oils with bromhexane because at the end of the day, the essential oils what we are using in Miarom L are expectorant. But for example, the bromhexane, what the bromhexane is doing is, let's say, like killing the mucus secretion or producing more fluid secretions. So we can combine with, at the end of the day, bromhexane is not an antibiotic itself, but also we can combine with doxycycline or with other antibiotics. And it's working perfectly. But of course, we combine it when we have sick animals in the farm. And we can provide these essential oils when we don't have anything, just as preventive, or for example, when we expect a reaction from the vaccination. 2 days before we expect this reaction, we can apply these essential oils.
Okay, understood. Now here, Corina. Now, your turn. You talked a lot about calves, but what about other ruminants? Because worldwide, we found that a lot of the different production for ruminants. Any experience?
Yes, unfortunately, there was not enough time to speak about all the experiences and trials in all ruminants, but I can say that we receive very positive feedback, especially from sheep farmers. They are using Miarom P also to prevent from infectious diseases, from the respiratory diseases. And what they see is that the small sheep are not producing so much mucus. The mucus is dissolving, so really the expectorant effect clearly stands out in the sheep production. So they see the good effects as well, basically the same effects that we see in calves. And also some beef cattle farmers are using the product in a little bit higher dosage, as I mentioned. So depending on the body weight, it is recommended to go up to 3 grams per animal per day. But the effects in all ruminants are very similar to what we have seen in the veal calves.
Is the product also increasing consumption? Do they like the animals, the flavor, the taste?
Yeah, for sure. What we see is when we pour Miarom P on top of the feed trough, the animals come and start eating. So for sure, the animals like the taste and consume more feed when we use Miarom in the feed. So there's not only the advantage of the prevention of the disease, but on the other hand, yeah, we enhance the feed intake and yeah, encourage the animal to eat more feed. And I think this is also very important during an infection, because the first thing mostly during an infection, the feed intake decreases, and so the animals have less energy available to also fight the infection. And yeah, so I think maintaining the feed intake through a time of infection or disease is one key factor for a quick recovery of the animals.
Okay, okay, understood. Coming back, okay, you spoke about different type of stress and the effect of essential oils during helping the animals during this stress. But Francisca, maybe you were more deep, especially with heat stress, no? And maybe this heat stress is also very linked to poultry sometimes, no? Because how the buildings are built and all these things. But what about humidity? Because I understand that humidity is very linked, no, to temperature. So is really also humidity making big stress in animals? Whoops, I don't know if Francisca is frozen.
Francesca seems to be frozen.
Yes,
I think
we lost Francisca. Maybe you, Javier,
yes.
you are able to answer also this question, no, or Corina?
Yes, at the end of the day, we are all working in the poultry section. We work very close, and we have the same question from all the customers. And this is happening. You know, the fact is that we have the heat index, and in this heat index, you need to not to only to measure the temperatures. You need to take into account this humidity. So high humidities are affecting also the performance. The poultry feels the heat more intense. So the thermal sensation is higher. So they start to paint at lower temperatures. So, and also the water consumption is higher. For example, we have, you already know, Pablo, that we have customers in Dominican Republic that reports like 7 times more water consumption than feed consumption. So this is also really interesting, you know, how heat stress is affecting. And also this sometimes is affecting also the way you treat the animals via spray or via drinking water. Because of course, if you have a lot of humidity, maybe it's not interesting for you to put more water via spray, or you need to concentrate more. And maybe it's more interesting for you to apply it via water, drinking water.
Okay. Let's see. Now you both also. I don't know who can answer this one. Why essential oils are different? I mean the quality. So I understand one anise oil is not the same to another one anise oil, or one eucalyptus oil is not the same that maybe another supplier eucalyptus oil. I suppose there is a lot of talking about concentrations and active ingredients, etc. No, it's a little bit of confusion, no, in the market.
Yes, Pablo. If I can ask this, we talk about the phytogenical polymorphism. Okay, so let's explain. For example, one plant in the Mediterranean and one plant in the north of Germany. So one plant in the Mediterranean, the same species, will have more heat stress probably in the Mediterranean than in the north of Germany. But maybe the plant in the north of Germany, they have another kind of, for example, cold. So they will produce different compounds. Why? Because this is encoded in this genetic material, but also we know that the genetic material adapts to the situation. So one plant in the Mediterranean, even the same species, will produce, as I told before, compounds that protect this plant against heat. And maybe the plant in Germany, in the north of Germany, will produce compounds that protect this plant against cold and against the being eaten by herbivores, for example. So we will have the same essential oil, but then if we go through the quality, we will see different compounds. And that's why it's important to make a quality check, not only quantitative, but qualitative. So we will focus in the compounds we are interested in, because we know by scientific evidence that they have effect in the animals. and not in the compounds that they don't have effects in them. And this is very important, and we are doing a MIAVIT. And I can give you another example. We receive some eucalyptus oil from one part of the world. I don't want to say the country, but they check the main compound, the eucalyptol amount, and it was almost zero. You know? So for us, this essential oil, even is eucalyptus essential oil, but it's not valid because with the eucalyptus essential oil, we want the eucalyptus. Okay.
Okay. Hey, Francisca, welcome back. Okay. Now it's already, we are reaching already our time limits. There is a couple of questions more that we will answer them directly by email, because we have all the info in the application. Thank you for your attention. And please, as you know, this week Eurotier starts, and we have a full week, plenty of different seminars. There you can see in the screen the calendar, and you can please download also the calendar with the links for description in the application, where you can see documents, and then you can download it. Please feel free to attend to all of them. They are created for you, for our customers and partners. Please also, if you want to share with anybody else, you are more than welcome. Okay. That's all. Thank you very much, Corina, Javier, Francis, for your time and your knowledge. To all our attendees today, thank you very much for your time, and we hope to see you soon in the next events. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.